This week we're creating a wreath calendar in Procreate with neutral florals and foliage that can be reused for any time of year. We're only using one brush for this entire piece, and it's my Inky Edge Pro brush from my beautiful lettering brush set, but you can use any brush that you'd like. The color palette for this project is free as always. Just tap on the link in the video description and you can download and install it. I'm going to start by creating a brand new canvas. I've listed my specs on screen, and let's begin. Okay, I've got my brand new canvas. The first thing I'm going to do is set my background color. So tap on your layers, tap on background color, and it's going to be the very first color on the top row. Next, we're going to establish our circular base for our wreath. So you can really choose any color that you'd like for this. Just make sure you're on this very first layer. I'm going to switch to this blue color, and I have my Inky Edge Pro brush selected. Draw a circle, wait till it snaps, put your finger on the screen, and that'll make it a full circle, and then you can reposition it into place. And if you have uniform and snapping turned on down here, you'll get these crosshairs, so you'll know exactly when it's in the center of your canvas. Okay, and then just look at the scale of it. If that feels good, then we can move on. I like how I've drawn this, so I'm just going to leave it exactly the way it is. Next, I'm going to reduce the opacity of this. That way I can see all the elements that I draw on top of it a bit better. So I'm coming down to about 25%. And now we're going to just add a little bit of rotational symmetry to help us along, but then we're going to draw a lot of elements as one-off, so it feels really original. So what I'm going to do is create a brand new layer, come to the wrench, go to Canvas, Drawing Guide, Edit Drawing Guide, and down here tap on Symmetry, Options, keep it at vertical, and turn on rotational symmetry. I'm going to increase the opacity and the thickness of my guide. That way you can see it a little better on screen, and then hit done. Okay, so now whatever I draw on this side will be repeated and rotated on the other side. So I'm going to switch to my white color and just give myself some really simple leaf shapes. And I'm putting about 3 leaves per branch. You can change it up a little bit, but they're fairly large. They're going to be the anchor as the base for this wreath. We'll take a look at that, and that's feeling pretty good. Now I'm going to fill in all of these with color, so I can just drag one in and then hit continue filling with recolor. Just reduce the flood down below max and then drag these crosshairs into the area that you want to fill, and then you can tap in all the others and it will fill it automatically. Okay, and that's a really quick way to fill them all in. Now that we have our base all done, I want to put in some one-off elements. That way it doesn't feel too matchy on each side. So I'm just going to turn off the symmetry. In order to do that, all you have to do is tap on this layer's thumbnail and uncheck Drawing Assist by tapping on it. Now whatever I draw on one side will not be repeated or rotated on the other side. So I can just add in a few extra leaf elements here and there to fill it out a bit more. Okay, I've added those extra ones in, and you could just leave these as outlines if you like that difference in style, but I'm going to fill these in the same way that I just filled in the other ones. I'm going to add one last detail to these leaves, so I'm going to create a brand new layer and apply a clipping mask. So tap on the layer thumbnail and choose clipping mask. I'm going to switch to my background color, which is this light pink. It's the first one on the top, and my brush size is right at 2%, and all I'm going to do is draw a little line detail in each one of these leaves. Okay, next I'm going to paint in some little blue flowers, so I'm going to create a brand new layer. You can also apply some symmetry to this as well if you'd like. So I'm going to tap on the layer thumbnail and choose Drawing Assist, and that will take on the exact same symmetry settings that we were already using without having to go into our canvas and drawing guide again. And I'm going to switch to this really dark blue right here. I'm going to increase my brush size a little bit. I'm coming up to 4%, and I'm going to do little clusters of blue flowers. So they're kind of scribbly, and that's all I do. And you can change up the scale of them too. So I can have some small ones and some bigger ones, but I have like little clusters here. I might have gone a little bit overboard here, but we can always erase if it's feeling too heavy after you put our stems in. As it is right now, just to speed this along, I think I'm just going to stick with the symmetry here, but normally I would go in and just add a few more original ones. So the next thing we're going to do is create a brand new layer, tap on the layer thumbnail, choose clipping mask, and we're also going to apply that rotational symmetry here. So tap on this thumbnail and also choose drawing assist. So you can have a clipping mask and a drawing assist applied to the same layer. Next, we're going to switch to our light blue color, and we're just going to add a little bit of detail to each one of these. So I'm just going to put a few lines in, and I'm using the same size brush, but I'm just pressing very lightly on the screen. Since this is a pressure sensitive brush, it won't be as heavy as when I drew the original flowers. So we can get these nice details without changing our brush size. Okay, we've got our details in. Now it's time to add in our stems and our leaves for these flowers. So I'm going to create a brand new layer and I'm going to drag it all the way underneath my base wreath layer. So on this layer, I'm also going to apply rotational symmetry since the stems and the leaves are both going to be applied to these flowers, which have the rotational symmetry applied. So tap on the layer thumbnail and choose drawing assist, and we're going to switch to our green color. And this time I am going to bring it down just 1% in size. So I'm coming to 3%. And now we can do the same thing. So these ones are going to float a little bit, but I'm going to connect all of them so they have a common stem, each cluster. So this cluster, for example, would come down. If you have a big gap right here, just color it in so it's filled in. And then I can bring this one in, and they can hide behind some of these larger leaves. You don't have to see their full stem. I just want it to look like they're all connected here as little clusters. And then we can just draw in some simple leaves, and we'll come around our full wreath. Okay, we've got our wreath looking pretty full now. Let's turn off our guideline and our template, this original circle that we drew. So uncheck the visibility of that base circle, and we can just hit the wrench and toggle off our drawing guide. And we can kind of see how our wreath is looking, and obviously we've got some gaps here that we should fill, and we're going to fill that with little pink flowers. So I'm going to come all the way to the very top, create a brand new layer, and these ones are all going to be one-off. So I'm going to place these around, and that will just make it feel like it was not drawn as fast as it was drawn. So I'm going to grab my pink color, I'm going to increase the size of it up to about 6%, and these ones are just going to be really simple 5-petaled flowers. So I'm just pressing my stylus on here. I'm not even drawing each petal. They're just little lines, and fill in any gaps around the entire wreath with these little flowers. Once you have all of your flowers drawn in, let's add in their stamens. So create a brand new layer, grab the darkest blue color, and we're just going to put a dot in the middle of all of them. Okay, we've got our wreath. Now it's time to add in our calendar. So I'm going to create a brand new layer. I'm going to group all the other layers together that I've already done. That way I can keep them separate from my calendar. So I'm just going to label this one Wreath. So on this brand new layer up at the top, we're going to start building our calendar, and I'm going to start with white, and I'm going to list the days of the week in white and then the numbers of the days in pink. So I'm going to turn on my drawing guide again. So hit your wrench, turn on drawing guide, but this time we don't want symmetry and we don't need a vertical line. So just go to edit drawing guide, and down here just choose 2D grid, and I just use the default grid. I don't change the size right here. I just work with the default because it just goes a lot quicker if you're not fussing around with grid sizes. So what I do is I will just decide that right in the middle of each one of these 4 squares, I'm going to put one of the days of the week. So this will be like my Sunday, and then the next group of 4 squares right in the middle, I'll make Monday, because if I put it right in the middle of a square, then I don't get equal spacing to the next square. So this allows me a more equal spacing between these. So that's why I do it this way. And then T for Tuesday, Wednesday. I've always done R for a Thursday. People always comment whenever I used to do calendars, why do I do R for Thursday? I've just always done it because I don't want 2 T's and I don't want to do a TH. I want 1 letter. So that's why, even though I've got Saturday and Sunday, at least they're separated pretty substantially. So obviously this is not centered, and that's totally fine. We can just move it over a square before we get going on everything else. So I'm just going to move it as evenly as I can right here. And this does feel more centered. Okay. So we'll move on with these squares. Now we're going to add in the days of the week, the numbers, and I'm just making a generic calendar. I'm just going to start with the first being on a Monday, but obviously adapt it to whatever month you want to make. So I'm going to create a brand new layer. I'm going to switch to my pink, and now I'm just going to start adding those in the exact same way that I just did the days of the week. I'm going to go right in the middle of these 4 squares and just put a 1 here. So then I'll come down. So in my mind, this is a block. So my next block would be right here. So this is where the next number would go. So that's how I space these vertically. So my next one would be right here. All right, so this month is going to have 30 days, and obviously I ran into a leaf over here, so we can fix that. I'm going to group both of these together, so this will be calendar. So I can just select it and then move it into place now because I've got my grid already established. Now I don't have to stick to the grid. I just reposition it where it fits best. And then we're just going to write whatever the name of the month is right above it. Move that so it's more centered above my calendar. Turn off my guide and we're all set. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you next week.